you best start believing in great podcasts, my dear audience. You're listening to one. And that is the Three Body Narrative. We are your hosts, Pradyum, Aaron, and Naeem. And we are here to discuss everything pop culture, movies, TV shows, and eventually games at some point. And for today's episode, we're going to be reviewing that swashbuckling adventure, Pirates of the Caribbean. Pirates of the Caribbean? Pirates of the Caribbean. We'll let you decide. The Curse of the Black Pearl. So we're only going to be discussing the first movie. So what is the Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl all about? Well, when Elizabeth Swann is kidnapped by a bunch of cursed pirates, it's up to her crush, Will Turner, and Captain Jack Sparrow, or former Captain Jack Sparrow, to rescue her from the Black Pearl and reclaim Jack's stolen ship. Sword fights, undead curses, and rum-fueled chaos ensues. Oops, damn it. Okay, actually, yeah, no, fuck it. Let's just keep it that way. Now, yeah, let's start with the ratings of this podcast, and I'm going to start off so that we erase the blunder that I just made. For today's episode and for this particular movie, I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5. The reason for that is I think it's the perfect setup to the next 4 movies, I suppose. I always prefer to call it a trilogy because the other two just feel very standalone. But for me, I think this was the perfect setup. Gives us the best main character introduction with Captain Jack Sparrow. Love the soundtrack. I love the acting, especially of Johnny Depp and Jeffrey Rush. I like the adventurous spirit and the fun sort of ending. The only maybe concern being that there's not a whole load of things that are going on, and maybe it just feels a little flat in between. And also the performances of Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley are okay. I mean, I can't blame Keira as well. She's I think she's 18 in this movie, which is surprising when I found out. Yeah, but overall, I think there are more goods and more positives than negatives, and I thoroughly enjoyed the movie watching it. But I still think that this is a good setup than as a great movie in and of itself.
I think next is me, so I'll go up next. So this movie, I recall it being a lot more awesome in my head. Like
Okay.
I really thought this was a very, very entertaining movie, and I was largely surprised by how at times it struggled to keep my attention to it. Obviously, strong performance from Johnny Depp. There's no question about that. The other two, yeah, I mean, I thought Orlando Bloom's acting was a lot better, or I remember it to be that way. But again, like this was over 2 decades ago, so
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I think I would give this a 3 out of 5. I had a good enough time with it, and yeah, it's one of those movies that over some time you can like go back and watch. But I think it is what it is from a perspective of the trilogy it was supposed to be. Um, I think there were more movies that followed the originally planned trilogy, but I think it's a decent setup movie. I would say it's a good setup movie. It's a decent setup movie, and it does well to kind of um, give you bits and pieces of Jack Sparrow that keeps you interested enough in the movie. But again, like there were too many forgetful pieces in the middle that kind of like couldn't grasp my attention enough to keep me wanting to um, go on with the movie. It just became at a point where, okay, I can't really watch this tomorrow or day after because I really need to kind of get done with it, sort of a thing. So yeah.
All right.
That's interesting. I thought I was being generous giving the movie a 2.5, but yeah, you guys seem to enjoy it a lot more. But yeah, I think the movie was okay at best. I think, like Naeem, you kind of remembered it to be a lot more swashbuckling or whatever that is, than it actually was. Probably because back then, probably one of the few movies that had like a pirate kind of genre and stuff like that. And so, uh, I guess that's why we found it more exciting back then. But yeah, I think looking at it now, it kind of was kind of lackluster in a lot of ways, and I think the movie was kind of carried by a few characters rather than having like good acting or a gripping story or anything like that. Having said that, there was some few interesting actors that were part of the movie. Some established names, some probably up and coming and stuff like that, which was kind of interesting. Now looking back to kind of see the different trajectories in where they went, that was kind of pretty cool. So I don't think that's part of the movie, but I just felt like that was something cool to mention. But yeah, I think uh, not the best watch, but now I think looking at it in hindsight, because there were movies to follow after that, I think that kept the movie in decent stead. I think if it was a standalone, it probably wouldn't have fared as well as it would have hoped.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I think knowing what came after and knowing the second and the third, having watched the second and third especially, I give this probably a higher rating than I would have, like you said, if it was just a standalone. I also remembered this movie to be a lot more exciting, a lot more fast paced, and you're right. I think like if I remember a lot more of lot more sword fights and everything, but and that kind of came towards the end, and I love that last 15-20 minutes when the
Yeah,
action actually pumped up, and you got a lot more serious with the pirates going on board to the other ship and wanting to, while the plan basically playing out by Jack
yeah,
Sparrow.
yeah.
All right, so I think we can probably start off by discussing the performances of these characters, right? So they are, like you mentioned, Aaron, there are a lot of like established names. So we've got Johnny Depp, we've got Jeffrey Rush, we've got uh, some other
Jonathan
note,
Price.
Jonathan
So,
Price, yeah, which is
yeah.
crazy to see him in that wig of his, like, which I mean, spoiler alert, he ends up almost becoming like that High Sparrow character that he is in Game of Thrones later on, right? So very young. I mean, Orlando Bloom, for me, I thought seemed younger here than he did in the Lord of the Rings, only to find out that the Lord of the Rings was like much earlier as well. So that was quite surprising. But yeah, I mean, even Keira Knightley was. I didn't think she was that young. And coming to think that she's 18 in this movie, which came out in
3.
2001, 3,
Yeah.
2003. Yeah. And she was in Star Wars Episode 1, wait, like 5 years, 4 years ago. She was like 14 in that, which is crazy, right? So
Yeah.
it's insane to think how young she was and how young she was throughout the entire movie. I think by the time we end this entire trilogy, she's only 23 or something like that. So it's mad. Um, but all in all, I think definitely Johnny Depp and Jeffrey Rush steal the show for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think their chemistry is unmatched. I loved, watching them argue over who's the rightful owner of the Black Pearl. about what happened in Johnny's, or rather Jack's backstory, and even the last bit. I think that entire last climactic ending, right? That entire fight scene was purely just like, it was so much fun watching them two sort of banter and play off each other. But anyone else that I'm missing out on in terms of who caught your eye?
Not caught my eye, but I think, like you mentioned, the other characters probably weren't as enigmatic or uh, I don't know, kind of entertaining. You kind of felt like Elizabeth's character and Will's character would kind of have, uh, I won't say important because, again, their characters were kind of crucial to the story, but you kind of felt that those characters would be more impactful. It kind of felt like a very two-dimensional performance. There wasn't really a whole lot of depth to it. And again, I won't fault the actors. It's probably because of the way the movie was written, and they probably wanted it to be that Jack Sparrow, and that kind of took uh, precedence over other characters in the movie. And so I get what they were trying to do, but you kind of also felt like there were other meaningful characters to the movie. Uh, but again, I guess because of how it was set up in the fact that there was a trilogy and stuff, I think they wanted to take it in a kind of sequenced way or have steps to how they build characters.
Yeah, and to that point, I think I also, I mean, again, I just recall it being that the second part has more focus on Orlando, along with obviously Orlando's character, which is Will Turner, along with obviously Jack Sparrow. So I think, yeah, this was more to be like complete focus on Jack Sparrow, even though it doesn't start with him. So
I
yeah,
I mean, they put their big bets on Johnny Depp and Jack Sparrow, right? Being the central character. I think the movie lives and dies by Jack Sparrow. I think if Johnny Depp wasn't, and I think if I'm not mistaken, the original role was meant to be or was written for Hugh Jackman. Can you imagine? Yeah.
Mm.
But I think honestly, you talk about like certain characters meant to be, or you can't see anybody else play those characters like Hugh Jackman and Wolverine and things like that. I think for Jack Sparrow, like no one else now can emulate the sort of character and personality like Johnny Depp could. I think even his real life personality maybe had a thing to it because
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, knowing Johnny Depp for the person he is, I think also adds to it because you're like, how much of this is actually acting, It's like, in terms of him not brushing his teeth or having those crazy amount of rings on his finger and stuff like that, where he's got, again, probably not the right word, but he's got that kind of hippie hobo kind of vibe, and that goes very well with the Jack Sparrow character. So, yeah.
no, that's a perfect explanation because I would have imagined or pictured Johnny Depp just being so excited to wear that entire pirate jersey, that pirate costume. Like
Um,
he would have jumped at the chance of wearing that entire costume, and I think he's taken it to like fish to water. I think he's really enjoyed playing that role, and you've seen him even like kind of do marketing activities with that costume, and he
in
really
character,
enjoys.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I think totally love that bit, and yeah, I also loved the two sidekicks that were there,
Mm.
the two,
oh, yeah,
two numbskulls.
yeah,
One of
yeah.
which, the thin guy, I mean, I don't know if you guys have watched, but he's essentially plays Dwight's character in the Office British version.
Mm.
Oh, no.
Okay, yeah. And the other guy comes in Seinfeld in like a couple of episodes. So, but yeah, it was really fun. I love that chemistry that they do have because they're obviously the comic relief. I mean, there's a lot of comic relief, but I think just from the slapstick comedy point of view, I think they give you that sort of. And I
Yeah,
mean,
every time
it's
on
meant to be
screen they
also
kind
like
of
a Disney thing, right? Because this was adapted from that Disney ride, the
Yeah,
Disney park theme Disney ride. So the idea is that you want to make it more family friendly, a little more kid friendly.
yeah,
Yeah. Name, sorry, I was.
No. I was just saying that, yeah. So every time they are on screen, like their presence is felt very strongly. So they clearly, like, it doesn't matter how little time they've been given in the movie. They whatever time they had, they made like really good use of it, and it was like it shown through how good a chemistry they had and how good they were in pulling off the characters they were given.
Yeah, because they could easily have come off as being very hammy, very slapstick, and like, oh my god, not these two idiots
yeah.
again. But I actually enjoyed having them there.
And I think it goes to show, like, with good comedy, I don't think you ever feel like, it's too much of comedy in a movie. Like, when you I mean, no, I'm not saying other people intentionally make comedies over the top and stuff like that, but like, if you have jokes that kind of fit the story and fit the theme of the scene that is being played out, I think it really goes well. And that's what this movie kind of did well, because I think you were probably laughing or giggling to something pretty much throughout the movie, but like you never felt like, it was too cheesy or something that you were like, not appreciating as much as the writer would have wanted. So I think probably that's something I appreciated in the movie.
Yeah, one of
I
my
Feeling a
most
little more
favorite
generous.
parts in the movie was the whole parlay sequence, on how that plays off. I really
yeah,
like that whole thing that they've got it, and it's like brought up, I think, on a couple of occasions, and each time leads to like a very fun interaction altogether. So yeah,
I love Jack's part of it, like Pearly, Pearly, like Pearly. Yes, that's the one. It's like you imbecile. Yeah. But I said that this was meant for kids, but there were quite a few adult jokes around there. I mean, least of all, I suppose when Jack rescues Elizabeth from drowning and tears off her corset, you have going to Tortuga, all of that, right? Like, so it's not exactly kid friendly, also. But then again, nor was Cartoon Network back in the 90s and 2000s, and we still
yeah,
enjoyed it.
but also in the sense that I don't think it's too obvious in any way. It's very subtle in those things. Like even when it has that adult side of comedy or whatever you want to call it, I don't think it's too obvious in any way or too, what's the right word I'm looking for? It doesn't look cheap
Yeah,
at any point, I suppose.
Yeah, I think there was no vulgarity to it.
Exactly.
It probably was more like a subtle nod to probably the adults that were watching the movie, but I think it would have probably gone over a lot of kids' heads that were watching the movie. And so, yeah, and I think, like, if you see a lot of movies do that, even the animated ones, they kind of throw in some stuff for like the parents that are watching the movie along with the kids. And so, yeah, you can't fault them for that, to be fair.
fair. No, I'm not faulting. I love the fact that they had that because I mean,
Yeah.
watching it now as adults, you can really take that appreciation, right? Back then, you'll be like, "Oh, okay, fine," but now you really can appreciate all of it.
Mm.
Fun fact: I think I watched this movie only after the third one, if I'm not mistaken. Either that or I watched this maybe just the day before I watched the third one. So it was like I remember booking already the tickets for the third one and then having like shit. Maybe I should quickly go watch the earlier two. But I don't know how that played out. Now, the one thing we have to talk about is I think the start of this movie or the premise of the movie is to do with Elizabeth Swann, Keira Knightley's character, right? And I think we start the ball rolling with this whole sort of lovers, not stiff, but it's basically triangle, a love triangle between Elizabeth Swann, Will Turner, and Commodore Norrington. By the way, I don't know if you guys noticed, but creepy as fuck because when we start the movie, Elizabeth's a small girl and Commodore Norrington is an adult,
I
right?
think it goes with the time back then, right? I don't know.
Yeah, but I didn't pick it
Yeah.
up when I watched it first, but like at the start, it's like Elizabeth finding Will, and they're both kids, and Commodore Norrington is like already like an adult who's leading an entire brigade. He's not even like one of those side characters, lackeys or something like that. He's like the main guy, and you're like 20. I don't even know how long it is. I'm pretty sure it's not 20 years, but I'm sure it a
Mm.
sizable time has passed, maybe 10 years, and you wonder
Mm.
what's going on. But yes, I mean, I'm not one to judge. We've seen this even in today's world. The age is nothing, but it was a bit creepy to start off with. That this is someone that you've seen when they were 5, 6, and then you're like, yeah, I want to marry you.
Uh, yeah, no comments there.
I think it's to do with the times anyway. Like you can't really like. I think it was accepted pretty much back in the day, and age is not is just a number, as they say, I suppose, and that's kind of how it works. I mean,
Not
I don't
always.
dive
I mean,
too
after a
deep into
certain age,
this,
yes, then age is just a number. But below
but
that,
then again, like I mean, at that point, obviously, it is that, right? Like it's not like he's
yeah.
hitting on the kid. It's like later, even later on, it's not like he's hitting on her. He's just formally asked for her hand or whatever it is.
Yeah. But of course, she has, I guess, a crush on Will, right? Because
Mm.
she finds him fascinating that she's found this kid on a wooden slat,
Like,
basically like, yeah,
yeah,
shipwreck slat, like basically like Titanic, essentially.
Well,
Here,
technically, she does. I think it's that pirate, this thing in him that she kind of like feels. Um, I don't know, like
I
more.
think initially she's more intrigued by him rather than I feel like any real love. I think it's like, ooh,
mm.
this guy's a pretty like curious guy. He's got this medallion who I've stolen right from him, right? And it definitely was. I mean, it's interesting. So, where do you land on this entire love triangle? Like, what would you have?
I don't really see it as a triangle. There was no real triangle there because Commodore was just someone who was interested in her, but at no point was it like any sort of attention given to him from her. And even when she's abducted at a later point, it's not like he's chasing after her. He kind of goes and does his duty, right? Like his duty is his major concern. So it's clear that he's not really focused on her. She was just one of those things that were like a, I suppose, a tick box for him in terms of he needed to have a,
Marriage done. Check.
yeah, yeah, task completed
Did
kind of
you
a
did
thing.
you want to say a checkbox and a tick mark, and you just landed up with tick box?
Whatever works, man. As long as it gets the point across, which it did. So fair
Yeah.
enough. Uh,
No, I get it. I think you're right. Like it feels like almost a duty, or I think the father had more of a say in this, right? To say that
Mm. go
go ahead, like I want you to marry my daughter, rather than I'm sure if the father didn't say anything, I don't think he would have also maybe yeah or gone ahead with it. So I'm pretty sure you would have found something else. But I suppose yeah, it was I guess a one-way street in that way. But what did you make of the chemistry between Kira and Orlando or Elizabeth and Will? Uh, for me, I felt a little too early to really establish it. I don't think they were given too much of time together.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't think a lot of attention was put on, like, like having it like a romantic sort of link between the two. I think they were just kind of tried to pair them as and kind of show the audience that that was where it was going with it, but I don't think there was.
So this was intentional foreplay by the director. It's kind of like,
Probably, or it was, or maybe they just didn't get that across very well. But
Your,
yeah, to
your
me,
choice
it
of
did that didn't
words
seem a lot.
are quite interesting to say the least.
Yeah, I was going to say a bit of flirting only, but intentional foreplay by from the directors. It's a
Hmm.
choice that was made.
Mm.
That let's just have them kind of play off each other without having to really.
Not the Disney we know today.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so with that being, I think also Aaron, just going back to what you said during your rating, like these two characters were a bit two-dimensional here. I think both played like the damsel in distress in two
Hmm.
different forms. Like Elizabeth definitely did because
Yeah.
she, for some reason, said she's Elizabeth Turner without knowing anything whatsoever, which is a weird choice to say because I don't know whether she thought that if she said she was Elizabeth Swan, the pirates would have just killed her, and maybe because she said she was a Turner. I'm just trying to understand her rationale
Yeah, so
behind.
I saw it in two different ways. Or at least that's how I was justifying it. One was she didn't want them to know she was the governor's daughter, which
Mm-hmm.
maybe would make more sense for them to hold on to her. Secondly, the second possibility was that maybe she had an inkling that because of the locket that she had, um, maybe Will belongs to one of the pirate families or things like that, and probably taking his like the Turner name may give her a chance to kind of survive or something like that, like along those lines. I think it's the former rather than the latter.
I
But yeah,
think it was the latter more than the. I think she knew that they were after the medallion, and I think initially I think maybe saying Turner gave her an opportunity to not be killed, but then I guess also because I don't think they were really keen on whether the governor's daughter or not, right? Like not exactly. They weren't
but
exactly after looting or.
isn't it at some point where one of the maids says you're the governor's daughter or something like
So
that?
that's what. So from their angle, it's like the pirates always come to loot people, rob people. They don't know that the real purpose of the pirates in this case is to kidnap the person who has the medallion so that they can get free of the curse.
But even when she's on the ship, they don't have clarity on that front, right? Like they still don't know what the pirates are behind. They just
Who?
know that they've ransacked the place.
No. So Elizabeth knows that it's the medallion that they're after.
Really.
I think so. I'm guessing that's what I think when they're brought onto the ship, that's where they get the medallion, right? I
Oh yeah.
think
I mean, she
Barbosa.
says at some point she does come to that realization, or she
Yeah,
uses as one of the this thing saying that you may want that. I don't know if that's she says. I don't recall if she says exactly that this is what you're looking for, or it's more like I have something of interest like for you or something like
yeah.
that.
No, but because she gets onto the ship by just saying parlay, right? The whole point is she doesn't tell the two numbskulls that like
No,
that she
she says
is
parlay because otherwise she was gonna get killed, right?
exactly. So at that point she says parlay, but I think she uses the name Turner. I think perhaps more. I'm not sure, but maybe she's intrigued as to what it is, or I don't know if it's just because it's the governor's
I
daughter.
like for me it's more former than the latter simply because she has to think on her feet,
Hmm.
and at the time she thinks that I'm the governor's daughter, I shouldn't give my name, and it's like let me avoid that. So what is the first surname that comes into mind? It's Turner because, well, again there are two things there. One, she constantly thinks about him and probably wants to be a Turner at some point.
Yeah, she definitely wants to be a Turner. All right. Okay, that's interesting. Do let us know though in the comments what do you think or the reason was behind choosing this, if you even cared, right? And okay, the next biggest story point is the curse itself, right? The fact that I think they stole a lot of gold and jewelry from that island and then found out that they could never die. But at the same time, well, that sounds great. I think their reasoning for wanting to turn back the curse is because I think they could never enjoy the pleasures of, food, rum, the other thing.
Yeah,
The pleasures that money can buy. Let's keep it as that.
Yeah, the pleasures of Tortuga.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I think what would you guys do if you were sort of bestowed this curse upon yourselves? Would you really be wanting to go back? You are invincible. You could just do anything that you want. You could walk underwater, which was for me one of the best scenes in this movie. Like the fact that they were just walking on the sandbed towards the ship. So you could do all of that, but is that a life worth living?
I don't know.
Okay.
did he
One
say I?
life's enough.
No, he said hell no.
Hell no. Yeah. Okay. Uh, Same. Like, I mean, I don't think immortality makes sense if you can't feel things, to say the least. So, I
Okay.
mean, guys.
At least your wife would be happy with that answer.
Wow, okay. So yeah, I mean, it
We
doesn't
ain't
make
a Disney
sense.
production, so it's okay.
I don't know. I'd be okay with it. I already look like a bunch like skeleton bones, so I probably am not missing out on much. But yeah, I suppose the only thing I'd maybe miss that. I think it's not like you can't do it. I just think you can't feel it. Maybe anything like eating, drinking, whatever.
Yeah, please specify. Yeah,
Is now
I
who's
think
going.
for sure, right? Like, I mean, it's uh, consuming food, especially.
By the way, but for a movie that got released in 2003, I love the effects.
Hmm.
Mm.
Like especially
Yeah,
when Barbosa says the dialogue that I started this podcast with, and he walks out from inside the sort of hall or the
right?
room to outside, and you can see the skin become bones, and then you see the rum being poured down the sort of the
Yeah.
skeleton. It
Also,
was
the part where Natalie's character kind of like bolts out, and then suddenly it's like everyone's a skeleton. That
yeah.
was pretty damn cool. So yeah, for 2003, pretty awesome with the effects.
Also the last fight, right, between Jack and Barbosa. It's like when Barbosa shoots Jack and he walks into that light. Oh, the effects just play out so cool. Because then when you see it from Will's side and you just see this skeleton in the light playing around with all those. And I love the trick that he does with the coin as well. Like, I mean, effects wise, I think they nailed every last bit. I loved all of the skeletons walking underwater to kind of get to the pirate ship. So, uh, but yeah, I mean, you're right in saying maybe that while you can enjoy those things, you really don't get to feel it as much as or enjoy the the feeling of eating, drinking.
Yeah.
It's more about just doing it, but to what end? And by doing it, I mean consuming food, um, or
Drinking
drinks.
rum,
Yeah, whatever that is, right?
visiting
Like,
Tortuga. Yeah.
right.
So okay, but so you guys definitely would not like it. I wouldn't mind trying it out, but yeah, I suppose at some point the the thing would wear out, like the nice
It'll
sort
be
of
like a novelty feeling, I
the
guess.
novelty wears out. Exactly, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
So
Then you just
that's it.
return the coin you took and just sacrifice a little bit of blood, and you're
Can
good.
can you imagine if the Tortuga room had like an open window and the moon just shone through the room
But
and
okay, tell me this, right? If only one of them stole the treasure, only that person would be
Yeah, cursed, right?
first, right?
Yeah, I think everybody stole. That's why all of them did. Because Jack didn't, and I mean, okay,
So
Jack
what
wasn't
me and
there, but
Aaron would do in that case is have you steal the treasure, sell that treasure off to someone else, get money out of that, and then share the
now
spoils
I
with me.
don't know how
Then
transferable it is. I don't know how transferable it is, given that
let's assume it wasn't.
it wasn't. Then
Then
yes, you would
that is the way we would go.
correct. Now, so the idea to get reverse the curse is that everyone gives back all the treasure, right, to the
Everyone, not
island.
just one person.
No, and that's what they're missing that one piece which is from Bootstraps, right? The medallion from Bootstrap Bill, who's Bill's father, and it turns out that they were trying to. I love the fact that I, it was smart thinking that they first just did the hand for Elizabeth because, like, imagine if they killed her and it didn't work whatsoever. I don't think it would have. I don't think it would have mattered much because anyway she wasn't. I don't know how that would have played out, right? If they had actually killed her straight away, because technically she's not the right person for that, so it wouldn't have mattered.
Mm.
But I mean, again, it's a Disney movie, right? So
No, no,
I don't.
obviously not in the movie. I'm just saying, if
In general,
in an
just
alternate universe or something, right? In a non-Disney alternate universe,
What if
what if Barbosa wasn't smart enough and he just like said, "Oh no, we need to kill you in order to."
the second time that is the approach, though, right? Like they don't want to take any risks, so they kind of decide to just completely kill him off, chop his head.
You mean for Will?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, but even for Elizabeth, I think they said the first time, and since the hand didn't work, they said, okay, might as
Yeah.
well just cut her
By the
throat
time
or slice it.
she was
Yeah,
already gone.
and I
So
think she had already given. No, sorry, no, they don't do that. I think then he gets angry and he straight away asks her, "What's your last name?" And then she says, "Or are you the daughter of Bootstrap Bill?" And she says, "No," and he slaps her.
yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think she. I think then it was for Will who they say, "Fuck it, we might as well just kill the guy." What's the worst that can happen? If he is
No,
the
but I
son of
think they
Bootstrap, then
do.
it works.
No, but I do think they kind of look for her, but she's not there at that point, right? Because
Yeah,
until
she.
that point, they've not caught on to Will whatsoever. Will takes her and makes a run for it. Um, so
It's
I
only
think they
later.
do kind of look for her, but she's already gone by then.
Yeah, so Barbosa slaps her. She falls behind. Will takes her, and then they
Yeah,
capture Jack when he says parlay, and that's where parlay, and then that's where he tells them, I think, or they find out later on. So
yeah.
there's a lot of backstabbing and betrayal that happens not only in this. I think very little in this movie. I think later on it becomes a lot more apparent.
yeah,
But there is also in this movie because Will. I mean, obviously Jack is making multiple plays. He knows Jack is cooking up something, and that's why Will doesn't completely trust him. So, come that time in the cave, he sees an opportunity to kind of capitalize, and he kind of just knocks Jack
Jack,
Sparrow out. Yeah, and then that leads to Jack make. I think even if he was 50-50 by then, he was like 100% sure, okay, I'm gonna like turn this guy in, kind of a thing, which backfires because I think in on the boat itself, someone, who was it, does he himself uh call out that I am Will Turner or something like that, or how does that work?
I think so. I think he says that he is. No, he takes the gun and points it at himself, right? And he's like, "Why should I care?" And he says, "I'm
I'm Will
don't do
Turner. Yeah.
anything stupid." And he's like, "I'm Bootstrap Bill's son." And he's like that. Don't do
Yeah.
that. So I guess that yeah, there are a lot of interesting plays and strategies in poker which are really nice. A couple of other things that I really liked. One was the soundtrack. I mean, Hans Zimmer back at his best. I do think that as much as I love the Pirates of Caribbean theme. I think in this movie, as compared to the other two, I think this is the weakest of the lot. I think, especially when Davy Jones comes and the other side comes, I think there's a lot more that Hans Zimmer really produces, and I think those melodies are so much better. But nothing, take away nothing. I think this is one of my favorite Hans Zimmer pieces, like one of my favorite, music. What would you call it? A title score, title soundtrack, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I've seen him sort of do this in concerts where they played it live. Oh my god, it's insane. Really gets you.
You said Zimmer back at it. So prior to this, were there movies where he was very much known for?
He won the Oscar for Lion King, so definitely yes. He also had, I'm sure, a few other ones before that. So if I'm not mistaken, definitely there.
Damn man, I didn't even know he scored Lion King's score.
Oh,
Oh my
yeah,
god.
yeah. So that was,
For
yeah,
some
his
reason, I
one of
was
them.
thinking it was John Williams.
No, not John Williams for Lion King. John Williams did a bunch of other franchises, but not Lion King. So Hans Zimmer did with Elton John. Obviously, was just the songs, but Hans Zimmer did the musical score. And but yeah, for this, I I'm trying to recall. I'm sure there were a couple of them, but I think Hans Zimmer really came into prominence with that entire Nolan
Yeah.
sort of partnership that he had, plus other stuff as well. So overall, yeah, I think the soundtrack was really great for me. What are your takes on the soundtrack? Did it really? For me, it gave me that piratey feeling. And I remember as a kid also enjoying that sort of pirate kid, piratey soundtrack and everything. But like I said, in this maybe I found it a little more muted than in the
Yeah.
other two.
Yeah, so it's the same. So when I say that I recalled it being a certain way, one of the main things was the soundtrack being a lot more prominent. It's there in this, but it's not really kind of inflow. I think there are certain sequences that kind of like, again, I don't know if it's in part 2 or 3, but there's one where Jack has like a piece of wood strapped onto him, and he's kind of
Yeah,
making a
second
run
one.
for it and
Yeah.
such. Yeah, and that also I recall it having the soundtrack running at some point there, and it's kind of a recognizable moment as such. And I think this movie kind of lacked that for the most part. So yeah, I mean, very good soundtrack, but not used as much.
All right. Aaron.
Yeah, I think pretty much the same. I think it gave you the piratey kind of vibe, which worked well for the movie. But yeah, I'm not so sure if this is like one of the most memorable ones. It was okay. I think it did justice for the movie, but yeah, I think that's pretty much it in terms of my opinion of it.
Okay.
So
The
one thing we
Yeah.
discussed that was, I think, or I don't know if I missed. I hope I didn't. But it's the
With your
fact that
memory, it's very possible.
it's the fact that Johnny
You
Depp's
forgot
character,
what you forgot.
Jack Sparrow, Jack Sparrow manages to avoid the curse because the mutinies happened and
Yeah.
the ship has been stolen by Captain Barbosa, right? And I like this fact that you see him for the first time come onto the city. I don't know what the city is or whatever it is. I
Yeah.
don't remember the name. Okay, but it's the portrayal of him being a pirate, but also you kind of see him immediately jump into the ocean to kind of help save Knightley's character and get arrested for actually saving the daughter. And just from that whole thing, it's like, is he a good character? Is he a bad character? This obviously, like, I mean, when you watch it now, you already know how the story goes. But back in the day, it was more like, okay, is this guy a good character? Is this guy a bad character? And I like that whole
You're never
very
really sure, right? You're never really sure
yes,
which side
exactly.
he's playing on, because that's even something that Elizabeth asked, like, whose side is Jack on? And you never really know. Like, at times he's supporting Elizabeth, he's supporting Will, but he's obviously got a second plan in place in case things hit the fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's always like unsure. And I think, yeah, the weird part is he saves Elizabeth, and then her father's immediately like, kill him. What the hell? And only when he finds out that he's a pirate, he's like, hang him. I was like, the first one was so much worse. Like, how are you downgrading it?
I think hang him is to make an example of him.
Yeah,
Kill him was more because of the shape in which his daughter comes out the ocean, I suppose. And
shape of
I,
water, the shape of swan. Yeah, I get it. So, but I
no,
really loved his. I loved his entrance though. The like you mentioned, right? Like he's this pirate, and he's supposed to be the captain of this really famous ship,
he's
and
thinking,
he is coming in the sinking boat, which is. And that's the one thing I love about it, is that everything he does is so almost like unintentionally perfectly planned. If I could call it that, like the fact that the ship, and it kind of is shows you how things are done, because at the start itself his ship is sinking or his boat is sinking, but it's so perfect that it it arrives at the pier and all he has to do is just put one foot forward, right? And the same thing happens, like the moment he gets captured, he's like, this is the day you almost caught Captain Jack Sparrow, and he just cuts a bunch of things and it just works out for him. He doesn't have a clue as to what the next step is. He has no idea where it's going to take him. All that he knows is that that's about it. And the only person who catches him is that drunk mentor or shop owner, the blacksmith, essentially.
comes at
Yeah.
him
Because
once more.
even Jack couldn't predict. So he's just like, knocks him out. So I really love that there are those hints that this guy doesn't know where or what is going to happen, but everything he does works out just fine. And I wish
True.
all our lives were like that, where we just didn't do whatever we did, it just worked out perfectly. I guess the last thing I want to talk about is the actual fight scene. We've spoken about this entire pirate movie, and we haven't spoken about the sword fighting, right? I really like the choreography. I love the movement, especially I think with Jack and Will, the first fight in the blacksmith thing. I really loved how coordinated things were. It felt almost like they were sparring, like both of them knew how to use. It's essentially like almost like watching Star Wars with two Jedi's, right? Both of them knew exactly where to, you know, defend, attack, when to do that, um, and the conversation also around it was pretty
I
interesting.
think personally I had more fun with the battle of the ships,
Okay.
where you've got the fastest ship in the this thing, and how Jack tricks them to kind of um, switch over to the other ship he has at the time, only to steal the quicker ship and get away with it. And eventually, when Black Pearl um, like comes up on them, that whole sequence of how they turn and they kind of like fire those things, and I think one of them just misses him or something like that, and you kind of see it through the whole.
Yeah, do they put like forks and spoons and all in this?
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
this the
yeah.
one? Yeah, yeah,
And someone's eye, like the one of those two characters, right? I
yeah.
think they have the fork go into their eye and it just pops up. So I found that to be a lot more entertaining. Obviously, yeah, like I mean, the sword fights were nice, but for me, like the ship scene was definitely a lot more memorable.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Aaron, what's your take on that?
I like the sword fighting. That was pretty cool. I think again, for something of that time, it was quite different to your what you would normally watch, and I think there was the chaos also added to the whole thing. So they had so many things going on in the background that was pretty cool. But I think also, like Naeem said, I did enjoy the bits where you had the ships and all involved, just because, again, it just adds to the whole pirate theme and everything like that. And so that's what you kind of imagine what battles at sea would have been like when pirates were going at it against
Yeah.
each other, the whole firing cannons at each other, and then just because out of sheer desperation being innovative with like these fork spoons or whatever, and all the whatever you could get your hand onto, and that sort of chaos. So I think that also was pretty fun, only because again it's something that you kind of, I don't think it was so far-fetched, and it probably was how things were back then. So yeah, it was fun, plus also with probably a bit of realism to it. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think, again, not to sound like a broken record, but I think in the second and third one, I think there's a lot more of ship fighting as well as sword fighting on top of it. I think here they were two separate ones. I think there were scenes where it's just sword fighting, and then there were scenes where it's just sort of uh, you know ship ship shooting,
Yeah.
I suppose.
And I guess again, just because it was probably the first of its kind, and so they kind of kept it separate just to kind of maybe see how things would work out, and then maybe get a little bit more creative and chaotic once they knew that they had something that was working for them, I guess. I don't know. It's just me assuming, but I think it was more that, rather than have too much going on in the movie and then people just scratching their heads.
Okay, yeah. Question though, we spoke about the curse sort of bestowing invincibility upon you. What happens when you put a bomb in your stomach when you're a skeleton? Are you still alive? Because that's what happens at the end, right? Where Will basically puts a pole between three people's ribs. He basically get so people can't, those three pirates can't get out, and then he sticks a bomb into the sternum of one of them, and it blows up. I mean, you can't come back alive from that.
Why not?
Maybe the bits like
Come together.
claw crawl back together, and I don't
Yes.
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the
The
curse.
the other thing I want to ask you that, so this is a bit of a conundrum for me, and while watching it, I kind of noticed it. So at the end, when Jack shoots Barbosa, right?
Mm.
Will still hasn't put the medallion into the chest. It's only after, so he puts, so obviously Barbosa taunts Jack like, you wasted your only bullet. And then they
Yeah.
turn to Will, and Will then drops the medallion in, and then blood starts coming. So, I mean, how does that work? Because technically
I
you
think
shot an undead person.
I
Is
know,
it
but
still
I think
lodged in there, and then that's why?
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's what happens.
It's
It's the
probably lodged in there, yeah.
yeah, and also maybe like even if it's not, the only thing is maybe there's a healing uh time that it takes. Like you get shot, and then there's like like a minute or two before it completely heals. Whereas like he gets shot, and then in a couple of seconds the medallion goes in, and there's not enough time. He's lost the ability to heal,
Heal.
um, which then leads him to bleed out.
Huh. Fun. Okay.
That's
Maybe that's true. Yeah. So
I,
that was because I would have thought that he drops the medallion
I
and
had the same,
then,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But again, like I mean, that's how I kind of
It's
put it in my mind.
dramatic effect.
Yeah,
I
Pause
exactly.
had
for dramatic effect. Like, oh.
Yeah. Okay, fine. So that was my conundrum. And now my last question, for I guess all of us as well as the audience, which is, did Jack escape the island on the back of sea turtles, or did he wait for the ship to come? So there are two stories. It's essentially almost like the Joker's backstory. So one is the famous story where he uses the hair on the back to make a rope, tie it to a bunch of sea turtles, and then escape. Or the more believable story, which he tells Elizabeth, is that a ship happened to pass by. They enjoyed rum for a couple of days, enjoyed, time together, and then he went along back with
I think it's that. I think Jack is a lucky character to begin with, in a lot of sense.
So with his luck, he could have found two sea turtles.
Yeah. But that's a lot of hair on his back, though.
Yeah, and also there is that one point he
Don't
says,
judge
right?
some of us.
The, wow. There is that one sequence where he does say that, I think, someone says, "Is this true?" or something like that, and then they're like, "That's how it's like a pirate story," or something like that, or like that's what makes it a pirate story, or something. Like he says that, which basically means that not everything you hear about pirates is true. It's just made dramatic or scary to kind of put you off or like keep you away, kind of a thing. And I think that's what it is with Jack's story as well. It's something that makes him grander than, I think, your regular pirate, if there
Yeah,
is.
because it would be so on brand for Captain Jack Sparrow to have two ropes of hair, like basically parasailing on the back of two sea turtles, aura farming, doing that whole this thing. I don't know. So it would be on brand, but I obviously kid. All jokes aside, I think it is more likely that the ship came. But you're right. Like a lot of these stories and a lot of those pirate stories are fun and exciting because of the myth that they and the sort of legendary status that they achieve because of the myth and because of the unbelievableness of those stories. So yeah, sad times because I would have loved to actually see. I so wish both Elizabeth and Jack escaped that island on the back of sea turtles. If she actually like, damn, they're here.
You want to try that again? Unbelievable. What?
Unbelievableness.
True.
Yeah. But yes. So I guess that's about it. Do we have anything else that we want to talk about for this?
I don't think so. I think we've covered all
Covered
that was
everything.
covered in this part. We did speak about Bootstrap for a bit, I suppose. We
Yeah.
spoke about
Yeah.
it. So, yeah, I
Honestly,
think we should.
talking about Jack Sparrow's luck. I mean, Elizabeth, one lucky woman to have fallen off that tower right into the water because I've seen a lot of movies when that happens and nobody goes directly like that.
What exactly happens there though? Like, how does she fall off? He goes down to propose. He goes on
Up,
like,
they go up. So they're at the top of the tower, and she can't breathe because the corset is so tight, right? So it's stopping
right.
air
Yeah,
from the sea.
she
And she's
kind of
like,
faints.
I feel faint.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I'm feeling nervous too. It's like,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
but it was pretty nice of Norrington to kind of back away at the end. Like, he didn't put up a fight when, like, he helped Jack escape.
Yeah, because the script writers had bigger plans for him, and they decided to kind of hold on to that for the next couple of parts.
And that's where we end this particular episode because we've got another two more movies to review at some point, and we will get to it. But I guess that's about it for our review of the Pirates of the Caribbean. I still don't know how to say it, whether it's Caribbean. You let us know. Yeah, you let us know down in the comments. But that's it for the Curse of the Black Pearl. We'll catch you all next time on Davy Jones's Locker. No, that's Dead Man's Chest. There we go.
Aye, aye, Captain.
See you.